everyone, welcome to the interview. I'm Kim In-jung. When you say Korean food, people tend to think mostly just about the food, but there are those who think it encompasses Korean drinks and even the dishes it comes in. Well, today on our interview, we're sitting down with one of those people who's leading the Korean food trend. The prestigious Michelin Guide is renowned for its curation of best culinary establishments all around the world. In the 2016 Michelin Guide for Seoul, only 2 restaurants in the city received those 3 esteemed stars. One of them is the Korean restaurant Gaon. It is known for combining the traditional elements of Korean food with a contemporary touch to offer a dining experience that anyone would be delighted with. Much of Gaon's success can rightly be attributed to the creative mind of its owner, CHO Hee-kyung. Having received professional training in cooking herself, Cho's passion for food has led her to restaurant management. Along with Bicena, another Michelin star restaurant which she runs, Cho's fine dining establishments have become must-eat spots for those visiting Korea with the finest of tastes. On top of running these top-notch restaurants, Cho is also the director of Gwangjuyo, a maker of traditional Korean ceramic tableware. This week, the interview meets with CHO Heekyung, the President of Gaon Society, to hear her plans to put Korea on the world culinary map. Great to have you on our show. Welcome to the interview. Thank you so much for your time. So we're at your restaurant. It looks beautiful, like a gallery. So tell us about Gaon and how you began to operate this.
So Gaon is operated by a company called Gaon Society, which was founded in 2003. The Gaon Society, before I joined, operated 11 restaurants and a lot of opening and closing. But when I came back to Korea from abroad, like in 2010, it was all gone. And in 2012, I started a new project, reviving our restaurant businesses. And the first one was Bicena. That was opened in 2012. And Gaon opened in 2014 to introduce a higher level of Korean cuisine.
What is the philosophy behind Gaon?
I think there are different layers of philosophies because different people involved into this project. Well, first of all, it's the founder of Gaon Society, which is my father. His idea is to promote Korean culture as one format where people can imagine and experience. And he thinks that restaurants are the most accessible sort of format for people to see, like the clothes, to music, to food, to people. So that's his philosophy of let people get introduced to our culture and also enjoy it. Whereas my philosophy, I fully understand what he wants, and I need to sort of deliver and coordinate how to make people enjoy this. And that's to make it easy to understand, I guess. Because when it comes to Korean cuisine, I think a lot of people don't know how to imagine, especially when it comes to finest food. So when they come, I don't want it to feel stiff, or I don't want them to feel like, oh, this is a gallery space where they feel pressure to be formal.
Sure.
So I want different ways of telling stories through our food programs, beverage programs, and also through our services that people feel that Koreans are friendly. Korean food is something that they can also taste in like everyday basis. Whereas my chef's philosophy is to educate many chefs as possible for them to really appreciate Korean cuisine through hard training.
I see. And the restaurant has been given Michelin stars for 3 consecutive years since 2016. So big congratulations to you. To what do you attribute this success?
Hardworking. I think there are so many stories about us or doing this and that, but obviously we felt that the global attention when we opened Bicena, and that's through our customers. Our customers are just everyday, just office people to politicians, celebrities, to also a lot of tourists, and a lot of people come here for work. And we see the sort of, when you're at the restaurant, because you constantly meet different people, and you've been questioned so many times about Korean cuisine and what Korean culture is and why I'm doing this and all that, you feel naturally obligated to do better. And when I started, I was definitely younger minded and just only passionate about cuisine and working with chefs. But through time, I realized that I feel responsible for introducing something beyond and beyond my ability. And that's to do something that I feel I'm gonna fail. We needed that sort of push.
Sure.
And actually my father suggested doing this because he felt that once we operated Bicena, we saw a lot of industry or the areas even change. For instance, we are very close to Garoske, which is now one of the hippest street of in Gangnam.
Sure.
And they have a lot of small pubs, which used to be all izakaya, like Japanese based. And once we opened, it started changing to like a lot of Korean pubs. And a lot of menus resonate from our menus. And even not that, like the hotels and all that, like started thinking about doing Korean restaurants. So people just didn't know how to operate. So once they feel that this could be successful, we saw the differences of the surroundings and environment. So we thought it was the right time to open something for other people to walk with us, in a sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure keeping the Michelin stars comes with its pains and challenges as well. What were some of them?
Working with another person. I'm a producer and manager, but I started this project wanting to be a chef. So it was a lot of self-struggling, because when you're a creative director, you're not a chef. But it's not that you're not part of the restaurant. You create everything, but at that time, because I was younger and mature, that I wanted to be a spotlight, which is that, I have to be the chef, I have to be control of everything. And the idea of restaurateur was so rare in Korea. It was hard to be accepted. And suffice to say, because of my relationship with my father, a lot of people thought that I'm doing this as a hobby. But I was super passionate about this. Later on in my life that I wanted to be a chef, but I always had the aspiration, for chefs. And also through our ceramics, I worked with chefs. So I understood that format. So it was that tension between my chef and I that I respect him fully, but at the same time, I wish that I were him. And you can feel it, through that sort of many discussions and a lot of expectations on both of us. That was very, very difficult for both of us, I guess, because we wanted to make it work. And then also, it's not about not getting along, but it's about the confusion of roles, because someone needs to follow the directions. Because I had the vision for the finest restaurant, because I was lucky enough to be able to live in different cities, and also growing up in Tokyo, I was more accessible to it.
Sure.
And for him, he had all the techniques and skills and different visions for the food program. So for him to sort of run as fast as he can, towards my what I want, was, I guess, difficult, because you constantly have to motivate yourself. This is what you want, whereas this is someone else's sort of picture,
Sure.
So once that doesn't come on the speed that I want, then obviously I don't know how to sort of communicate with him, and that was the process. But because that, I think we are now like brother and sister. Like, we can look at each other and then feel almost everything that what other person is going through. And yeah, so it was hard in that sense, but I think we are very, we're super connected in that sort of mental level in a way.
I can feel the internal pain and also the intrapersonal pain that you had with your chef as well.
Yeah.
What changes have you seen in your operation and also in your staff and your clientele since winning the Michelin stars?
Well, once we opened this, the struggle was that we didn't have customers because people weren't used to paying $200 or $250 for Korean cuisine. But that money was easily come out from their pocket, like when it comes to sushi or French or any other European cuisine at the finest level. So when you don't have customer, like we don't have work. And people get lazy and people doubt. And we had to change our program so many times, educating and training our staffs even when we are empty. Make sure that this is not just for now, this is for long run, and what we do is meaningful, and these rules are actually it matters. You cannot just go out and say that I work for a fine dining restaurant and not knowing the rules and not thinking that that's important. So it's just like from 0 to 10, like you have to set rules and then literally sort of make them believe it, and I think after Michelin stars, they finally realized that this is reality and they were ready for it and they actually started having fun. Before, it was very hard to have fun.
What can you tell us about your clientele and what kind of diners would enjoy eating at your restaurant?
I think before Michelin, we definitely had more gourmand people who really miss sort of Korean cuisine to be this way. So they come as a couple or for foreign clienteles and things. But after Michelin, I think we do get younger crowds, definitely more 20s and 30s.
Sure.
And for different reasons, like celebration or for business and other things. So that's the big change. But I know that I saw one of your questions was regarding the famous people. So recently we did receive Angelina Jolie and with her son, and but she was probably one of the first major Hollywood actresses. But we do have a lot of famous artists and also musicians in Korea or in Asian market. Also, I'm friends with Naomi Campbell, so Miss Campbell came a few times.
Sure. What kind of feedback have you been getting from your patrons? Any memorable comments?
They said it feels healthy. I think it's extremely difficult for a restaurant to serve healthy foods because of the cost. We use the best ingredients. We don't use any MSG. It's all natural flavors, and it takes time, and that means that we need more chefs. So all those things that to provide the best, it's not about putting expensive ingredients on a beautiful plate. It's really caring about the process. So I think that's the best compliment we get. For me, it's always the best compliment when they say it's healthy and they feel light the next day.
Have you had any negative comments, not just about the price, but about your food and how it's presented?
I think in the beginning, people had more stereotypes. They wanted to compare us to other cuisines. We've been compared a lot to Japanese cuisine because of the format.
Sure.
But these days, not really. We understand that not everyone will love it, and that's also our homework. And if we're not sensitive towards that changes, then we're never going to grow. So we're pretty open to any criticism.
I see.
Yeah.
What are the restaurant's signature dishes? What are you the most proud to present to your diners?
We have 2 courses. One is to just show basic ingredients of Korean cuisine, meaning that ingredients of Korea. And the other one has more characteristic of our chefs. the course, the menu itself is what we should symbolize in a sense. I think the difference between like 1-star to 3-star is that 3-star is all about consistency. So we cannot say this is better than the other. We struggle to make everything at the same level. So that's the experience of, I think, the menu.
Sure. Yeah. Now, how do you go about menu selection?
When we thought about opening Gaon and trying to impress the global connoisseur of the cuisine world, we thought of like what could be interesting to them, you know. That's just not serving a vegetable, fish, meat accordingly to what the Western cuisine serve. But at the same time, while we're studying through like what people eat and how people spend their like daily lives, we're all human, so it was pretty much the same, you know. We thought what could be the most considered finest cuisine was the palace food. So once we look into that, we obviously had to study how kings spent a day. And that's how we decide the order of it. Like, what did they eat when he wake up? You know, what did they eat when he was celebrating something? Like, just different occasions. So that's interesting, I think. You know.
So is that how your menu has been finalized? Yeah. So when your diners come, they get to experience a king's life, really. Yeah,
because I think it's in Korea they also say customers are kings. Like, you know, we say that.
True.
So and then that idea sort of came through that, but at the same time, I think anybody who are willing to pay this much, I mean, I do think that it's pricey, you know. It's not like something that you can easily go. So when they pay this much, they probably work a lot too to come here, you know. I mean, it's not like better of your salary, but it's like some people, maybe it's very easy, but some people not. But in the end, it's the same amount of effort. So I wanted them to feel like a king, because I think king is not, you know, the position. It's just conquering something, you know. Sure. They're the champions, like, and then working is it's constant challenge of having passion. So I think that sort of promotes like our idea as well. Like, that's when we meet our customers at sort of eye to eye, you know.
Sure, sure. What would you say is the reason you also spend a lot of time and focus on not just the food, but also the space, the ambiance, and also down to the dishes as well?
I need a good team. I think that's one thing. So I needed experts like on designers and, you know, chefs, a photographer, or in many art creative industry, for them to sort of come together about creating this space. So that's where I was focusing on, in a sense. But to be honest, when opening Gaon was something that I really hesitate in the beginning, because I mean in the beginning I doubted myself, because I was only in 30s, you know. And when you think about this old palace Korean cuisine, especially in Korean people's perspective, like you have to be 50 or 60 at least, you know. Sure. And then I have to please them, and so many people have saying about their own, when it comes to their own national things. It's not just Korean, like I'm sure like Japanese, Chinese, everyone goes through, like, because some things traditional should not be changed. And so I was super careful about not changing the format, but also creating something new. It was really difficult and hard to focus, to be honest.
What changed your mind about doing this? And you said, okay, I can do this.
I had no option. Yeah.
Having no option, just this is what you're set out to do.
I think I have a very strong father. I mean, he did this business like and invested so much for so many years. That's just who he is. And I lost the battle with my father. That was the main reason. The second reason, I don't like to lose, I think. And because of that, not I wanted to win, but I don't want it to stop doing it because I was scared to do so. So I just kept doing it.
It's because you lost your battle with your dad that so many people get to enjoy fine Korean cuisine. So thanks to you, right? Now, how would you say this particular restaurant is different from the one you run, the other one, Bicena?
Bicena used to be more casual, but since we moved to the hotel, we had to change the format completely. That means that when you go into hotel, it's like 365 days operation, and you need more staffs, and the expectation to hotel restaurants are different, the crowds are different, so we had to change completely. But one thing that I wanted to introduce at Bicena, which is now on 81st floor, on the Lotte Tower is the tallest building, people make an effort to come all the way to 81st floor. They need to feel comfortable. And I realized that Seoul has all cuisines of the Korea. But once you leave Seoul, it's very hard to find good restaurants. So I wanted to represent different regions at Bicena. So it's more about very humble, disappearing Korean menu that we try our best to revive. Yeah.
So this restaurant would be the posh version and that more down to earth.
Yeah, so this is more archiving the history, whereas Bicena is archiving now.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that. I like how you put that. Now tell us about your chefs.
Yes.
You did mention your relationship with him or them,
yeah.
But what more can you tell us?
We're like family. I mean, not just our chefs at our service too. I do one-on-one training for everybody because when I opened restaurant, I lived in very friendly culture, where you can talk to anybody on a street or even at a grocery store, and I missed that. And when I came to Korea, I was really lonely because for me to be a little different was so scary to them, and I didn't know how to be conform into Korean culture, and I liked myself, but all of a sudden I lost the confidence of being who I am. So I wanted to change the dynamic of people in my restaurant. I wanted people to communicate with each other, whether you're customers or servers, it doesn't really matter. And that culture didn't exist. That's the part of reason I named Bicena a kind of awkward noun that people don't know what this means. So once you ask question, you have to listen. And people start asking our staffs and what does Bicena mean? And so it was kind of natural for them to start talking about the restaurant and things like that. So because of that, it's for me, my relationship with my chefs and also staffs is to make them feel good. And I don't want them to feel like I'm a boss and who just gives out paychecks, These people are like 20s, most of them, and it's the most critical time of their lives, and also it's time when they want to party and do fun things, and these people are stuck in the restaurant one space and doing one thing, and your boss is so demanding, and it could be stressful or it could be boring, but I mean these people are pretty intense. I mean, for people to like that. So I know because I was so lonely in my 20s, I want them to have different experience, and then they can do whatever they want in their 30s, whether it is to get married or to pursue their career, it's different, but you need to make a right decision, because more and more I realize that people don't believe in decisions that you make, and especially people who are not exposed to a lot of experiences, then they get more careful with their decisions as they get older. And so I want them to do whatever they want, as long as they can convince me. So it's not the logic that I want, but I want them to be able to speak the process of their thoughts. So I have a lot of communication, and also the training is usually changes, depends on our team sort of energy.
Sure.
So sometimes I feel that people are kind of getting lazy because they're so tired. Then I'll just do like, oh, we're gonna do some creative project where you guys just come up with new menus and I'm just gonna critique. Or when people just think that, oh, start feeling they're somebody and like, just they can do whatever they want. And I'm like, well, we're gonna do the menu that you're supposed to do, but do it just the way, it's exactly the same way as our executive chef does. Then everyone needs to learn, perfectly.
Sure.
So those things, it's like running a school.
So you're not just the boss, but you're like a big sister, Nuna, and a mentor, really, to these young chefs.
Yeah.
What are some of the qualities you look for in recruiting them?
Good personality. That means that person doesn't have to be outgoing or social or vibrant. Like, it means that they need to have a good heart. Yeah, they need to have a good heart, meaning that they care about their lives. They care about changing things that they don't like about themselves. And if they're honest about themselves, I think they can be more serious about their lives. And it's so hard to train people at this level. So once they come in, we want them to stay long.
Sure.
So it's a commitment. Yeah.
What do you think is the most important aspect in running a fine dining restaurant?
I think the chef, the manager, and the restaurateur have to be extremely passionate, and at the same time very strict. I think those are the key things. Yeah.
Sure. Most people, like you said, associate fine dining with French cuisine or Japanese cuisine. So what do you think Korean cuisine has to offer or add to fine dining, to the whole experience of fine dining?
It's different, I mean, it doesn't have to be completely different, but it's just different food. There are not enough good Korean restaurants. There are tons of barbecue and fried chicken places, but not a restaurant where you want to celebrate your wedding anniversary or like propose and things like that. So I think itself is new. And most of customers say or ask me is to open my restaurant in New York, Paris, London, Tokyo. Like, I get requests like that all the time. I just smile. Do you understand how much this costs to operate? It's so stressful. Yeah.
Do you have plans to open overseas branch, perhaps?
I believe in faith and destiny. I'm not greedy about it, but it's always in my wish, But I have to be proactive about it. So last year we did a collaboration dinner with Meadowwood, which is 3 Michelin star restaurant in Napa Valley. And this year I'm pursuing 3 projects in New York. And that's huge. New York is a major market with, it's worth attention. And by doing that, I'm looking for opportunities, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Now, you come from a family of Korean chinaware and Korean traditional alcohol as well. What more can you tell us about your family and how that's affected your career?
It's very vague memories when you're under 5, but I still remember when I was about 3, just going into the ceramic studio and playing with clays. And when my grandmother was always cooking with a bunch of people and just didn't know why, but it was because at the time there are not many ways to host people outside of homes, and most collectors come to our houses and they will eat Korean food and enjoy looking at art pieces and decide what to buy and leave. And my grandmother was also teaching tea ceremony. So we had people coming in and out, and there were so many rules doing different things. Oh, you cannot hold a bowl like this or that and this. So it was a lot of women talking a lot in the kitchen. That was the woman's side, and then the male side. My father was just busy, you know. He was a businessman, so he was just a very strong person who was just expending different things. And you realize once we start doing tableware, like my mom gets involved, and she's doing exhibition for table coordination of like the wedding themes at like department store or even the art spaces that to make it different. So I understood like my parents were both busy but like creative and doing a lot of things around food culture.
I can tell that you pay a great deal of attention on the chinaware you use at the restaurant as well. Share with us the beauty of your chinaware.
It's very Korean. When I say it's Korean, it gives out the feeling of Korean. It's soft enough, but at the same time, it's minimal enough. Like it's just enough of a lot of things. Yeah, so we're trying to keep introducing different ways to design and make it work with our food. Yeah.
How do you think serving your food, Korean food, in these Korean traditional dishes bring out the flavors in the food that you serve?
I guess it's in the end it's also the visual feeling. We start actually expending more our ceramics. But in a sense, the Korean crafts. I think we do promote Korean all crafts, so it doesn't have to be just our ceramic. And also, it's so boring if you only look at like ceramic everywhere. So we work with bronze, wood, and other things to sort of be more playful and not boring.
Now, what's different about Gwangjuyo dishes that you think are appealing to the diners and the other patrons?
Well, good quality. And also certain Korean patterns, we try to keep it sort of alive, because I know that now it's even, once you become more sophisticated with the things, like you want minimal. You don't want to overdo it. So you keep making simplified, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we can not play with the patterns. So we focus on that because that's also history.
And Hwayo, the traditional alcoholic beverage, is run by your family as well, and it's quite popular in and around Korea. So tell us about how much demand you see in and outside the country.
I think the demand is going higher, especially I think it's easier to access in US market than whereas China or Japan, where they have their own strong beverage culture. But it was also a difficult road. I think how Korean government set the taxation on the alcohol is pretty backward as well. That's why no company actually could grow to this extent. So it was very lonely word. Like, I mean, people don't know the difference between the regular soju and the other diluted, like ethanol soju. So thing is, like, when you eat and drink, you don't want to be educated. You pay for it. You just want to enjoy it. But it was like so much of that seriousness, I think, that made people sort of step back in the beginning. But once they start picking up that people, this is good quality, and people, restaurants that promote a better food, it was natural for Hwayo to be on the menu.
Sure. So how do you think your family went from making chinaware to exploring bigger other alcoholic beverage market?
I haven't spoken about this with my grandfather, but my guess is that he started the art culture in a sense. Like afterward, there was nothing, and there was no artist, and he's pretty romantic. So he wanted to sort of work with the artists and bring them back to Korea. So that's what he did, and create a studio. He wanted to create a beautiful art pieces and make people collect them. Whereas my dad, who got involved in late 80s, he realized that culture it's not going to survive if it's not in everyday basis. So for him to sort of penetrate into everyday life, that's when he went to living culture. And now we're in in third generation, it's more lifestyle. When living culture involved, then it involves food, ceramic, and liquor. And whereas lifestyle now, it's like I have to think about ways to sort of sell ideas of Korea. I play with a lot of ways where I can take this. And it's just that, yes, of course I have to operate more restaurants if I am in the restaurant business, but it doesn't have to be at the same time. Like I could easily open a school for chefs, or I can do other things for like consultation of like how to promote Korean culture. And there's so many ways that I can do, but you have to focus, you know. So now it's a restaurant, but we don't know where it's gonna go, but it's definitely going to be promoting what we are good at, which is being Korean.
Sure. And Hwayo, going back to that alcoholic beverage, has different levels of alcohol content in it, I believe, from 17 to 25 up to 53%. And what degree do you think Hwayo can be best enjoyed at?
41 is our symbolic, our most iconic one because it was the first released. But our best sales is 25. I think it's because people think that when they drink 41, they get too drunk. So they start with the 25, and then I'm not sure if they go down to 17 or up to 41. But people usually start from 25, yeah.
Most manageable, I suppose. Yes. What is the strategic reasoning behind introducing different levels of alcohol content?
Because Korean people, when they think of, oh, let's drink soju, they only think about one thing, right? The green bottle. So instead of that, we thought that once people say, oh, let's drink, then they have choices. It could be sake, soju, vodka, or baijiu, right? And those are exactly the alternative choices of like 17, 25, 41, and 53. We want them to have choices. So if we want them to give them choices, then we need to make more products.
Now, I want to know how different markets react to different levels of Hwayo, the alcoholic content.
I think 17 definitely, we have more female customers. 41 has potential to expand into cocktail culture, and also we do offer them at the clubs and lounges as well. And 53 is for serious alcohol lovers. Also Chinese market. It's in a sense that Chinese have the standard that it has to be over 50 to be a good baijiu. So it's that idea. And 25, it's easier. So people sort of enjoy it like gin and tonic.
As a leading Korean restaurateur, what is your guiding principle or philosophy?
Never lose your passion. It's difficult, and especially I think as a woman. I'm in my late 30s. For me to sort of get into this industry where it requires so much of your attention, you sacrifice your personal life. And at the same time, you meet so many people all the time. So it kind of make you wonder like where this life is going, you know? Because of our company's culture, we look at long runs. It's not like, oh, let's sell this and make tons of money, or like, oh, let's M&A and be loaded. Like it was never that. Like it was always, let's find the most difficult way and make it successful, because that's the easiest way to succeed. So through that process, you always wonder like when, because it never ends, you know. So I think that's the idea how I work.
Do you have a business role model that you look up to?
I think my friends. A lot of my friends in different industry making differences, I think. I mean, because I changed my job so many times and lived in like 5 different countries, I have so many friends in fashion, music, like, I don't know, film, art, business and all these different things. And for them to sort of keep leveraging their career, I think that's what's most inspiring. Because to be honest, when I was in early 20s going into MBA, my decision was based on Martha Stewart. But I think that was my greed that was speaking to me. It's not about how successful you are, it's about how you progress your career. So all my friends who work hard, they inspire me. Yeah.
Who were some of the figures who influenced who you are today, and what were their teachings?
I don't want to say because it's so ordinary, but my parents, they're so different. My mom is extremely feminine. She cooks very well. I mean, she's just a perfect woman. And my dad is just extreme man. So it's like in the middle, I was kind of didn't know what to do. And I'm the middle child of 3 girls. My sisters are very feminine as well. I was the only child who were into like fighting with boys and winning sports, and all those mattered to me. Because of that, I think I had a strong 2 perspectives that has so many opinions about me. And I think that influenced me a lot because I didn't know whether I should be a woman or a man. And my grandmother always told me that, oh, you were supposed to be born as a boy, you know, and you're so young and people tell you and you believe that. So I thought I was a mistake, you know, to be a girl. And so that's why I think I start acting like a boy. I think my 2nd grade, I was only wearing boys' clothes and like cut my hair really short. So I went through those many phases of myself, like at an early age. And people who are successful, they know themselves very well. Because they're so different and they have so many opinions about me, I start developing of self-awareness at a very young age. Yeah.
At what age did you stop listening to them, but really listening to yourself?
I think I still listen to them. I love them so much. I hate it, but it's back of my mind. It's not that I live for their happiness, but I realize as I get older, like family, they will never lie to you, you know? They will only tell you what's best for you. It could be from their perspectives, but you have to learn how to accept it. And it's difficult to accept when they're from the closest people because you constantly want them to understand you. So you kind of let that go.
So you studied abroad, you also worked at an IT company, and you acquired many different experiences. How do you think they contributed to making who you are today?
I think I could be compassionate to a lot of different people.
So you understand other people's cultures, their feelings,
yeah,
so you can be compassionate.
Yeah, because the conclusion, like the simple way of thinking is that I don't even understand myself 100%. So there is no way that I can understand another person. And so having different experiences, different field, I realized that thinking is also a habit and living is also a habit. And you know, IT people live certain ways and thinking certain ways, and fashion people thinking certain ways, and it's all different. And sometimes they cannot communicate each other because they say, oh, that person doesn't understand. But I can sort of walk around and talk to different people and genuinely be curious about what they do and listen to them.
It's a good quality, right?
I think it helped me becoming in the restaurant business because you have to accommodate a lot of different people.
Sure. Yeah. You studied at a culinary school. So when did you become interested in the restaurant business and starting this?
I loved eating. I was eating so much that I could eat like meat for like 7 people when I was only like 7 years old. And
wow.
That was just for one meal. Wow. I was always in the kitchen, like playing around, and so it was very natural to me to cook and eat and feed others. And my mom was always cooking, my grandmother was always cooking, but I never really thought that I would come into culinary industry. My dream was to be independent from my strong father, and just independent in a sense that I left Korea when I was 13. and then lived abroad 17 years. So for me, it was only way for me not coming back to Korea, for me to be able to afford myself. And when you think about that, I went to art school and I changed in careers and I went to MBA and people didn't know how to hire me. And I did not understand then. I was like, well, I speak so many languages and I'm so experienced, but they knew that I will quit my job after a year. So at that time, like, I realized that I have to have a special talent to survive myself. And that was why I kind of got into kitchen and doing things, because I thought that was the way to go.
What were some of the challenges you faced as a woman in this cutthroat industry and also as the daughter of the owner of a big company?
First, social responsibility. It is to get married. I realized Korea still, the marriage in late 20s and early 30s is most acceptable. So when I came back around that time, I did not know what to do, because obviously I was raised to be a great woman and someone's wife, but at the same time I wanted to have my own identity. So struggling between that was difficult. And second, as a woman, it was the personal turmoil about what to do with my life. In the beginning, I was trying to be aggressive, I think, because I wanted to prove myself and I wanted to take taken seriously among men. I soon realized that only way that I can be different and only way for them to feel a little distant is to be a woman. So I played that card quite well. The third part is, well, in Korea we say gold spoon, right? I accept that, I'm sure a lot of people are envious of my surrounding, even though it wasn't my choice. So I do see that, but I also accept that people don't think that I work hard, but I do. And my only thing that matters to me is that the people around me know that. I'm not angry about it, and I shouldn't be. And having a father who is a business person, you go through different phases. Depends on the business, Sometimes it will do so well, sometimes it will do so bad. In that environment, the tension is always up and down. And that's for all family, I think, whether you're from rich or you're not, I went through that struggle emotionally as well in the household. So that's pretty much same. The only pressure that I have is I have to live up to the expectation. That's sometimes very hard. Still now, I know people think differently to what I want them to think of me, but that's something that I need to if that matters to me, that I only need to promote myself career-wise. Last year, Marie Claire magazine, they asked me that they want to interview me, and I said people don't want to talk about my work. I'm so sick and tired of talking about my work, but I want to talk about what restaurateur does. People don't understand what I do. So in order for them to understand me, they need to understand my work. So I did that about 7 times last year, and then this year I'm taking different phase into it. But I feel responsible not just for myself, but all restaurateurs. Like now the idea of owner chef is becoming more comfortable, but then I have to introduce my job. Yes, people do have stereotypes, but I cannot do anything about it. But only thing I can do is to educate people about what I do. Yeah.
And your sisters took a different path from your own life. What made you pursue this path, and what were some of the sacrifices, if you will, you had to make along the way?
I didn't meet the right man in my 20s. I think that's the different path. I think they all met their soulmates when early on, and then they got married. And me, I just missed that opportunity. But I guess this is my life. In the beginning, it was very difficult for me to get along with my friends who took that housewife path, because I thought that we had nothing in common. But once that they're having children, it's different, enormous work. I think work is work, but that's a life. And so I'm super close to my sisters because they strive to be best mom. Anything that you do, if you strive best, then you can always have that sort of common ground. Yeah.
Well, Korean food and K-pop are some of the things that foreigners think of when they think of Korea. And as we all know, K-pop is doing extremely well. What do you think Korean food has to do to promote itself around the globe?
To raise awareness, I think. There are different ways, but one, for chefs, I think there needs to be more serious chefs who feel that what they do can influence the entire market. You have to give up making money and just really, really think of yourself as a chef and what it means to be a chef. And as a business people, I think you also need to take serious about what to change. I was super inspired by the movie Founder, and now I'm also thinking about, like, if I want to create a brand that it could be franchise, what should it be? When we create Korean brand, you have to incorporate those cultural elements that symbolize the Korean. But because our culture now is being so influenced by like China, Japan, US, like we lost those habits, like why the soup is on the right and why the rice is on the left and why the spoon and chopstick looks like this, and all those things that I have to have a story to let them know. But I think those things are missing, I want it to be meaningful. And so as a business person, not just picking, naengmyeon is popular, or fried chicken is popular, or like bibimbap is popular, and so I'm gonna like make it into a franchise model. Not that, but it's like, what cultural elements can we play with so that every Korean feels shocking, like in a sense that what's ordinary becomes special and fun, So that's my next homework.
Sure.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for other aspiring restaurateurs or other young women who want to become successful like yourself one day?
I don't consider myself successful. Just stop defining. Life keeps changing. You can always quit too if you want to, because your happiness matters the most. I jokingly say that I work this much because I don't have any romance in my life. Because it's boring, doing nothing. I have so much energy. So I just like doing something to use my energy to make my life exciting, right? So focus is on my life, not my work. Working should be my passion, not work is my passion, That's my motto. Yeah.
And if you could share your future plans with us as we wrap up this conversation.
I think my future plan is to carry on as much as possible, and then along the way, make evolution. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Right. It's because we have men and women like Jo Hee-kyung who love Korean food and who are passionate about Korean food that the future of Korean cuisine looks quite bright as well. All right, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.